Good morning. This is Michael Savage. You haven't heard from me in a while, and I'm going to talk to you this morning about something significant in my life, perhaps in yours as well. So give me a moment. I'm alone because I choose to work alone. And in 2 minutes, we're going to do something together. If you'll give me 1 second, I've got to get my camera working. There we go. Now I'm going to move things around. This is not a professional operation here. The radio show is. The fact of the matter is, there we are. Can you hear me? Say hello if you can hear me, meaning just wave and say hello because we're going to go live on Periscope. Welcome. We've missed you. Hello, Savage. As you know, radio is a dramatic medium, and we all tend to over-dramatize our subjects, our lives, our significance of what we're talking about. That's what we do. Never forget that radio, like all other forms of communication, are in some ways a performance. God has made it that way. And anyone who tells you otherwise is a liar. Everyone is performing, myself included. I'm not performing today in a way. I'll tell you what happened over the next few days on the radio show and I return tomorrow. I've been off the air for 10 days. Something happened. I don't want to go into details. I had an experience where it was touch and go in my life. And as I lay there in the hospital, I was praying to God for well over an hour as the geniuses worked their magic. Later in the day, they said to someone very close to me, he was mumbling for the entire time that we had him in surgery. They didn't know I was praying. Now, God bless the doctors. I guess they don't understand the power of prayer. But there was a prayer for one straight hour at least. Admittedly, I was on some kind of medication. Don't get me wrong, I'm fine. And I'll be good. It's good. I don't want to over-dramatize it. I said to you, I'm not going to over-dramatize the situation. People have gone through much worse. However, when things happen to you, it's as worse as it can be, as bad as it can be. It's when it's you. And everyone's arrogant until they're not arrogant. Everyone is not believing until they are believing. It's when you're on the mat and your face is down on the mat, whether you're a fighter or an ordinary mortal who's not a fighter. When your face is on that mat, that's when you know whether or not you believe in God. And so I prayed continuously, a Jewish prayer and a Christian prayer, and a mantra over and over and over and over. The doctors apparently didn't hear. They were busy doing their job. They didn't hear me saying, Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kavod Li'olam Va'ed. As I walk the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for my Lord is with me, and I shall not fear. Over and over and over and over in a mantra. Did it help? How do I know? God works in strange ways. Okay? So the word humility comes up. I learned many years ago, 40 years ago, what humility means. Humility derives from the root humus. I think you can put two and two together. Humus, earth. We come from earth, we go to earth. When we're at the peak of our strength, we don't believe we're mortal. Humus, humility. Now, a number of years ago, I wrote a book entitled God, Faith, and Reason. I'm not going to preach to you from God, Faith, and Reason, but apparently a new piece was written last night, which is why I'm on Periscope with you this morning. At about 1:30 in the morning, I jumped out of bed. I had a terrible nightmare of an Amazonian man, a giant, 7 foot tall, with a knife in his hand, a stone, by the way, a stone knife. This is interesting. And he was like a wild creature, a wild animal from another world. I approached him to speak with him because I've spent a lot of years in villages over the years. I've always had a gift to speak to people anywhere at any time, no matter what their language was. I could communicate with them. It's been since I'm a child. It was one of my gifts. I tried to approach him, it didn't work out. He got a large animal that snapped and took my dog Teddy and snapped his head off. Why the demon did that is up to you. I woke up and I was rather shaken. It was 1:30 in the morning. It's very cold out here in San Francisco this time of year. I'm not complaining. I like the cold. I don't like heat. I wanted to go back to sleep, but I was a little intimidated to lay down in the dark again. And I wrote this. Take it for what it is, because I'm going to read it to you and say goodbye. And I want you to see, I'm not reading from anyone else's work. Okay, this is my work. I'm not Robert De Niro. I'm not a derivative talk show host. Okay? This is my work. See my work? My handwriting? There we go. Take it for what it is. God exists, that's all I want you to know. God exists, and here is what God said to me last night. It was though God was taking my hand. Excuse me, my alarm is going off. There it is. I wanted to go back to sleep, but God, I keep a pad next to my bed. I told you the story once from when I was 15 when I learned to do that. And over the years, that's why I'm a writer of many things. I've always written thoughts down in the middle of the night. I haven't done this in many years. God put the pen in my hand and the pad in my hand, which was next to the bed, and I started to move my hand. Are you ready? In all times, in all places, the largest group of people produce people of no consequence. And also there are small groups of people who produce very small groups of people who are of great consequence. Among these are the Jewish people. Some spread God's word, some the word of Satan. What has one man speak of God and another speak only of evil? That's something only God himself can answer. We are not to question God's ways, only to follow God's laws. To dwell of the evil of others, it's not a grammatical error. That is the word that came from God. To dwell of the evil of others is to become consumed by evil thoughts, which leads to evil deeds. God's word is God's word from time immemorial. Sunday, 15th December 2019, 1:45 a.m., awakened by a nightmare of a Neolithic man. There's a lot more I can say, but I choose not to at this time. With God's will, tomorrow will be another day. I will be on the radio again. I'm not going to preach to you all week. I'm going to work with you. I'm going to tell you the show is going to be a different show from now on. I'm not just going to sit and read from God, Faith, and Reason, but I'm going to read from God, Faith, and Reason this week. We are in unholy times. We are in unprecedentedly unholy times in America. The forces of the left are the forces of pure evil. The leftists are the atheists who have torn down churches, burned churches in Russia, burned priests alive, burned the Holy Torah when the Jewish villages faced pogroms. That's what the left does. That's who the left is. Now, don't get me wrong. We can call them right, we can call them left. In America right now, those causing all the havoc are on the left. Those who want to tear down our society are the leftists. Those who want to destroy everything that is good about our society are on the left. Those who release those from prison who come out and rape and kill 18-year-old girls and release 13-year-old animals in the street who kill girls and say there's not enough evidence when they find a bloody knife and they can't prosecute because of the devil with a law degree in New York City. They're not the conservatives. It was not the conservatives who released the wild in the streets of New York to repeatedly mug people outside Barnard College. They knew who they were. They had done it over and over again. They were on security camera, but they're only 13, 14-year-old teens. And listen to this. That beautiful girl who was killed last week in New York, I can't stop thinking about her. She was like Miss America, that kid. All I could think about when she died, and I didn't know her, was what it took to raise that child up to the point where she was. accomplished, beautiful, a musician. God knows what this world lost. She will never have children. But the wildlings who stuck the knife into her and killed her, oh, they'll have plenty of children. Isn't liberalism great? Sprung already from jail. The cops knew who they were because they've done it before. They have them on video out in the street. Out in the street to laugh at us again and to mug. I can't dwell on the evil. Someone just said that. I'll get me ill. Do you understand that? This is, I guess, what, I guess what I'm saying is this. I have to read my own words, and I'll read them again. To dwell of the evil of others is to become consumed by evil thoughts, which leads to evil deeds. So I'm going to follow my own advice and stop talking about the news for a while. I guess what I'm trying to say to you is, although I've been in a state of waiting to go back on the radio for a few days, I went on Friday for a few minutes. I'm looking at the news. I got to tell you, the news is toxic. It's one of the greatest poisons of the soul and mind. The news is the word of the devil. Now you say, well, what are you supposed to put your head in the sand? You can't do that either. It's a very, very difficult road that we all walk on today. Many of us want to focus on Christmas. We want to remember the bigger meaning of life. We want to shop and buy people presents to show them that we care about them and love them. Every time you open this screen and you turn on this report and this site and that site, what are they selling? What are they selling us? They're selling us the worst evil on the planet. And so we go out in the street and we expect to see evil. So what's the answer? Become one of these la-la people like in Marin County, California, where there is no evil until they're mugged in a parking lot or their daughter is, God forbid, raped by someone just released from prison by Jerry Brown's follow-up act here, Governor Newsom. They're going to release them on the streets of New York in January. Do you have any idea what's coming? Why they want these people on the streets? So the answer here is that there is no answer here. I don't want to sound guru-esque, but there is no answer here. The only answer is to tend your own garden. What does that mean? Tend your own garden. Tend your own garden. Try not to focus on the evil. And there's plenty of evil in the world to focus on. We got Nazi fire in the streets waiting in the wings for when Trump wins to riot. Soros will fund them as sure as I'm sitting here to burn the cities to the ground. We know what's coming. All we can do is prepare. There's so much more that I want to say, and I can't say it in a 15-minute hello on Periscope. Right now, this will be recorded. I'll run it on the show tomorrow, probably. In fact, I will run it on the show tomorrow. It's my way of saying that I'm back, and God saved my life. God has me here for a reason, and there's only one reason. You know what that reason is? To spread good in God's word. No other reason. That's it. That's my interpretation. God, faith, and reason. Why did I choose those three words? God, faith, and reason. Well, you all know what God is. Those who believe in God, believe in God. Those who don't know who God is anyway. I don't believe in God. Okay, you just said you don't believe in God. What do you believe in? I believe in nothing. That means you believe in something. And what is that something? That something is the eternal. What is the eternal? I don't know what it is, but I know it's not God. Good for you. When your face is on a mat and you are in the humus and you're hovering between life and death, get back to me. So we have God. We have to have faith in God, but we must have reason, not blind faith. God, faith, and reason. That's how man has evolved. Otherwise, we'd be the Neolithic people of the Middle East in those countries where our poor boys have to go and face this 15th century culture, this Neolithic culture. They're not evil people. They're just people who've not evolved from the 15th century. We have plenty of them in our society. But worse than them, without dwelling on the bad, are those who are highly evolved, highly intelligent, highly educated, who know better, who know what the Soviet Union was, who know what the Soviet Union did to 100 million people. And the poison that was spread by those devils, Marx, Trotsky, Engels, I know all of them. I've studied all of them. Poisoned China. China was not communist before they picked up the poison of Russia. Cambodia was not communist till they picked up the poison bred in Russia. Are the Russians evil? No, but the Russians faced evil. Evil that we could never comprehend. What the Russians lost in World War II, defeating Hitler, is something we can't comprehend. 400,000 Russian boys and men died just in the last weeks of the war, taking Berlin from the Nazis in their last stand. 400,000 died just taking Berlin. That was after the war was almost all over everywhere else. You don't understand the Russian mind. All you understand is hatred of Russia because of those who are wanting you to hate Russia. Well, that's all I want to say to you. We had a huge victory in this world with the election of Boris Johnson. For 18 straight months, the leftist vermin in the British and European press and their fellow travelers here in America, do I have to name them? Oh, Brexit's not going to win. Boris Johnson's a clown. He's going to lose. Corbyn, the wonderful great saint who hates Jews and Israel and America and the military and the police and loves Muslims, he's going to win. Same lies are being given to you here about Trump. The same lies. My prediction, whether I'm right or wrong, we'll find out in time. On this course that we are on, Trump's going to win by a landslide. There's going to be a repudiation of all of the lies. Let's put it that way. I'll be very polite about it. All of the lies of the left. There will be a great repudiation come 2020. And America will once again shake off the shackles of the press, the shackles of the liars who have such power, unheard of in the history of man, and they twist and lie everything. I have to go on for one more minute. Last week, Donald Trump signed a remarkable piece of legislation protecting Jewish people from the assaults that are going on here in America, making it a hate crime to attack Jewish people, adding them to the long list of those who are protected. That's all he did, added them. He was attacked by Jews in the media who said he's an anti-Semite for calling Jewishness a nationality, that the Soviets did the same thing. Now, I have said liberalism is a mental disorder since I published that book a long time ago in 2005. I've joked with you, the audience. I've told the president himself when I met with him a while ago that if you were to announce a cure for a certain kind of cancer through your scientists at the NIH or somewhere else, Anderson Cooper and Wolf Blitzer and Jake Tapper and the other voices of Satan would go on the air with their smiles and say, the president tonight announced that he has withheld the cure for cancer for well over 18 months, that he had this cure and didn't release it. You hear this? Was I wrong? He pronounces that he has produced a piece of legislation that took a long time to produce to add anti-Semitism to the list of crimes that are a hate crime. And who attacks him? The media calls him an anti-Semite for doing so. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I know you do. It's a way, it's a form of speech. I'm going to conclude today because I feel like talking for hours, and I'll save it for tomorrow. What happened last night when God moved my hand on a piece of paper. In all times, in all places, the largest group of people produce people of no consequence. Now look around the streets of New York or San Francisco, people of no consequence. And also there are small groups of people who produce very small groups of people who are of great consequence. And among these, I said among these are the Jewish people. Some spread God's word. Some spread the word of Satan. What has one man speak of good and another speak only of evil? That is something only God himself can answer. We are not to question God's ways, only to follow God's laws. To dwell of the evil of others is to become consumed by evil thoughts, which leads to evil deeds. God's word is God's word from time immemorial. This is my testament to the world. God spoke to me last night and moved my hand. Take it for what it is. I'm not a paid actor. God bless America.